Hey guys, thanks for joining me up on Play Games. My name is Lance, and today I'm looking at a brand new game coming to Kickstarter called Dawn of Madness. This is a brand new title from Dimension Games. This is their second Kickstarter. Their first one was the super popular Deep Madness that was very successful a couple years ago. So with this one, this is a 1 to 4 player game that takes roughly 1.5 to 3 hours to play and is a fully cooperative game, so all the players are going to be working together to defeat the scenario they've chosen to go on. So in the game itself, this takes place in the same universe as Deep Madness, but takes place before Deep Madness, many years before. And so the Church of the Golden Dawn is just kind of starting out and trying to, again, try to find portals to other worlds to gain power and who knows what else besides that, to just do whatever bad people do, I guess. And so they have devised these machines that they have around the worlds, and they have to find humans that are specifically geared towards these or have special abilities or whatnot that they can strap into these to open up dimensions to the other worlds. And so you happen to be one of those humans with the special powers or whatever that are able to trigger these devices. And so you will play one of the wanderers that has been teleported to this other world, and his mind or her mind has been split and fragmented. And so throughout this scenario that you've chosen to go on, you're trying to put that back together and try to make it out of this world with some sort of sanity left, or any type of semblance of your old self back. Most likely you're probably not going to do very well, but you're going to try all the same. So with that being said, the highlights for me with this one is that, first off, Dimension Games is trying to do something very unique here. They are trying to make a true horror experience, and they are going to rely heavily on a narrative to do that. So as you're going to see in this video, there is going to be a book for each wanderer that is going to have a full breakdown of all these different sequences that you'll reference throughout the game. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure in a way, where you're going to be moving around this book, choosing different things, performing different tests, whether you're successful or not, making choices. With the enemies, you're not always about attacking them. You're going to have to potentially run away sometimes, or talk with them and negotiate with them and try to work your way through that. Or if all else fails, you can attack them. It really is up to you. And that is the interesting thing with this. They did not go back to the Deep Madness and just make another dungeon crawly kind of fully cooperative, attack everything that looks at you wrong kind of game. With this one, it is a lot more about the choices you make, the decisions you make, and how successful you are within in them. And as the players go on, each of the different things that they do is going to have an impact on the game. And this is played as a campaign depending upon the number of wanderers that you're playing with or players. So it could be one game, it could be 2 or 3 or 4 games before you finally get to the finale. And then based on how everybody does, that is going to be the finale you'll go into. And then based on the results of that will determine the ending story and how well you do. And there's going to be a number of different ones of those. So even after you've played the game a couple times, depending upon as you do better or do worse, you're going to have different results. So some really interesting things within that are going to continue to give replayability to this game. So other highlights for me, I love the artwork with this and the miniatures. First off, the artwork is very dark and beautiful, just very unique and twisted artwork, and I love that about this and Dimension Games. I mean, their first game, Deep Madness, was really cool and unique, something we hadn't seen before as well with the art style. So this is more of that very twisted, very cool, very dark artwork. And the miniatures themselves are beautiful. Their sculptors have done an incredible job of capturing the detail within these and the art style within them as well. As you guys can see, I have that video running so you can see all the different models, and that's just a sampling of what you're going to get and what they've unlocked already. And the other highlight for me is the story elements themselves as well. With this, being able to choose your own adventure in a way, choose your own path that is going to have repercussions, whether you make a positive decision or a negative decision, and you won't always know. That is one of the cool things with this as well, is you really don't know if you're talking to, if you find to have a conversation with your malformation, that seems to be a good choice sometimes, but and it might be. It's kind of like doing a deal with the devil. You will get benefits from that initially, but in the end, it may be detrimental to your overall goals. So very interesting. Like I said, sometimes you have to choose whether to run away or to attack them, or some of them you don't have a chance on. So very interesting in how you have to make those decisions within this game. And I definitely feel like it is a horror experience if you get into these type of things, and you really have to kind of set the mood and really get into it. And if you do, I think it's definitely going to be rewarding within that to provide that horror that most games miss. And each of the Wanderers is going to work differently and is going to have a completely different story and elements and different feel to them. So you can definitely tailor it to your own style and what a Wanderer appeals to you and their story and all that as well. So some really interesting aspects with this one. So, as always, these are just my opinions. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys think of this one, who your favorite Wanderer is, whether you're backing this one, why or why not. I'd love to start a conversation, so drop some comments below. Let me know what you guys are thinking on this as well. If you enjoy these videos, if you like what I do, please consider that like button, subscribing to my channel, as it really does make a big difference. It helps me continue to grow and produce these videos for you guys. If you want to stay up to date on all my videos, also consider ringing the bell so you get notifications anytime I release new content. So let's head to the table and we'll see what this one's all about. So let's start with the players. So first off, each player is going to choose a Wanderer that they want to play as, and then we'll receive that Wanderer's dashboard. And then depending upon the number of players, you'll have to choose one of the players to be the central Wanderer, and that is what you're going to set up this scenario for. And I'll go into that a little bit more later. So with the player's card, the Wanderer's card, it's going to give the name of the Wanderer and their role, the number of hit points that they have, and their mental capacity, which is going to be their initiative, where they'll start on that track. Then we have the board, or the area where you're going to place all of your different domains and different cubes. So in the middle here, we have the 5 different sentients, and then we have the different concepts on the sides in the big circles. Then, as you get cubes in these cubes are considered domains, and you'll be able to spend those to perform different types of actions or tests. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to start off by rolling the different values on the different sentient dice. So this is going to give you your domains that you're going to start with. So to show you an example of this, let's go ahead and give the dice a roll. Right, so then we're going to go ahead and mark those. So we have 2 that are going to be considered wild, and that'll be a purple and a yellow. We have 2 of the tentacle fingers. We have 2 brains. We have a skull and 2 eyes. And then, like I said, you'll be able to use these to perform different tests and that. And on the back of the card is going to list where each Wanderer is going to start on their World Shard card, and the special cards that they're going to use if they're the central Wanderer for them. And each character's cards are going to be themed to them. So with Emily here, she is a psychiatric nurse, so she has the psychiatric treatment cards and the physical treatment cards, and each one of these is fun. For those of you that understand some of this, we have gasoline treatments, we have radium water, hydrotherapy, and then for the psychiatric treatments, we have electroshock, insulin coma, and lobotomy. So some really interestingly themed cards within these. From there, then there's also going to be a number of other cards that our players are going to get throughout the game. First off, they will have domain cards, and each one of these is going to provide them with domains that they can use or a special action that they can perform. And some of these will be specific actions, and some of them will simply just be abilities. So like this one, for example, has an action, and then we must have domains in these different spaces. So we need 1 brain, 1 tentacle, and 1 eye, which we have right now. We have a tentacle, a brain, and an eye. So we could perform that action. And other ones are simply just things that will affect us during our turn or whenever we choose to play them. And then as the game goes on, we will have plenty of opportunities to gain coda cards as well, and these are going to give us all kinds of different bonuses or abilities that are going to help us, and we'll be able to have up to 4 of these active at a time. Now there will be different things that will be able to allow us to gain or have more of these active as well. So there's going to be a slew of these, and each one of these will have its own special abilities, and I love the artwork on these. They're just so much fun. Now, that being said, the players are not going to have all of the stuff going their way. This is Dimension Games, so there are going to be all kinds of different conditions and effects that are going to hinder our players throughout the game as well, and these are just some of them. We have burden cards and disoriented, lightheaded, overwrought, slowed, weakens, and withered, and these are all kinds of different effects, and each one of these is going to have different effects. So there'll be a stack of cards that are going to impact our players in different ways, as each one of these effects is going to do different things as well. Now, the main focus for our players is going to be getting memory shards that will allow our players to spend those to do a number of different actions. So these are very important that the players are going to be able to use to attack abominations, to interact with different portals and different things that they can use. They can use them to cleanse, devour tokens that are on the world shard cards, and a number of other effects. So these are going to be very important, and as the players go through, they're going to want to try to gather these and as many of these as they can. Now, the other thing the players are going to be going after are the portal tokens, and these are going to will be given for different effects or different story elements that the players choose. And at the end of a scenario, or to determine the finale, the players are going to flip these over, and they're going to give them different bonuses towards endings. The players will total up all of these, and based on the ending that they have the most in is what they're going to get. Obviously, the easiest is the worst ending, which is the red door, and it works its way up from there. And this is just a sampling of how the players are going to work and the different things that are going to affect them. Moving over to the enemies, there's going to be a number of these, and these are going to be determined during setup. So first off, whatever the central wanderer is, they're going to have 3 of their aberration cards with them, and these are going to be specifically linked to that wanderer. So for example, with us using Emily as the nurse, these 3 are going to be her aberrations, which are aftershock, lobotomy, and hysteria. Each one of them, they'll have their own miniature, which is really highly detailed. These are really beautiful, as you guys saw at the beginning of the video. Now, each of these are going to be listed as a patient for her, and then they're going to have a little bit of their own backstory. Then on the other side of the card, for example, with Hysteria here, it's going to list his different effects, so his health, his mental capacity, and the number of shards that he's going to grant the player if he's defeated. And then each of them is also going to have 3 marks here, which you may or may not be able to see real well. They're just really light red circles. At the beginning of each round, you're going to roll 3 dice that are based on the world shard that he's on, and then you'll have those domain rifts put on there. So for example, with Hysteria here, let's go ahead and say, for example, that he was on a location that granted a red, a yellow, and a purple die. We would roll those and then place those symbols on there. So with him, he would have the purple sphere, he would have a red brain, and a yellow tentacle. And this is going to have a number of different effects. First off, it will grant special abilities to be activated. So for example, with this one, we would initiate when his turn comes up, we would resolve the top effect. So it says if no wanderer is in the same space, you're going to expend 2 mental capacity to move 1 space towards the nearest wanderer with the most number of eye domains. Then if he has a tentacle hand, which he does, this action will cost 1 less of his mental capacity. So instead of spending 2, he would only spend 1 because he has that tentacle finger. And then he has different actions. For example, if he's in the same space as Wanderer, then he would resolve this one instead. And then it also has an effect based on his domain rifts that he has on there. Now, the second purpose of these is if a Wanderer chooses to attack this particular aberration, then these are the symbols that they're going after. And they'll choose one of them to target, and then they'll roll their dice based on those rifts or domains that they have. And for each one that they roll, successfully, then they will do 1 damage. Now they can also spend domain cubes that they have on their board to do additional damage as well. So there's a number of different effects. And then each one of these guys is also going to have a passive ability that is going to impact them. Now there are also distortion cards, and these are just digital representations of those cards that you can see, and these are also going to be selected at the beginning. The players can mix and match these with a number of different ones. There's a whole slew of these that have been unlocked during the campaign already, and there's going to be additional ones that are included in the core box, and these are just a different type of enemy that the players are going to go against. Now, the 2 other types of enemies we have are the malformations, and these guys are not necessarily enemies. They have a very interesting role within this game. First off, again, these are going to be tied to the Central Wanderer, so with us using Emily, these are her 3 malformations, and basically these are rifts that have been created into monsters from her dark inner memories and experiences and different psychological breaks, almost like she split into multiple personalities. So these are like the dark incantations of that. So really, really interesting. And as you can see, they slowly deteriorate into further and further madness states. Obviously, the first one isn't too bad. She's a little demented. Then she starts turning into this grotesque monster. And finally, she fully transforms into the Queen of Madness. But like I said, these are kind of enemies, as they are going to try to move towards the Wanderers or different characters and do damage to them. But these are also one of the few ways you can damage the Abomination. If they're in the same space as the Abomination, the Central Wanderer can choose to spend memory shards to do damage or allow them to attack, and then you'll use the bottom part of their card to do that. It'll show the icons that you'll roll for the domain or the sentience dice, and based on the results that you get there and the confrontation card that you pull for the Abomination, you will be able to hopefully do some damage to him. The one other thing I forgot to mention with the malformations is that they are limited. Each one of them only has 3 cards, and each time they attack or you are used to attack the Abomination, they will move up to the next level card. And if they are out of cards, then they cease to exist. So you do have a limited number of attack actions that you can do against Abomination. So every time you get one, do everything you can to really maximize that attack, as if you run out of actions to do, or run out of attack actions, you're not going to defeat him. There's no other way to bring him down. The Central Wanderer is the only one that can attack with resistance cards, which he only has 3 to use throughout the game. And then the malformations each only have 3 cards. So at the very most, you'll be able to attack the Abomination 12 times. So you don't want to pass up any opportunities to do damage if you're able to. Moving over to the Abomination now, this is the central bad guy for the scenario you've chosen to go on. And there's going to be a number of these as well. And with these, as you can see on their cards, again, these are digital representations of this. They're going to be double-sided, and one side will list all the different stats on the Abomination and his different sequence of actions that he's going to do when he activates. Now, each Abomination is also going to have a skill that is going to activate at the beginning of the round. These are going to be kind of passive skills in a way that are going to trigger on top of other things if certain conditions are met. And these Abominations are super nasty, and they have a lot of hit points, and they're going to be around, and you're definitely going to want to try to defeat these as the scenario goes on. If you don't, it is not the end of everything. You won't lose the scenario per se, but it's going to add some detriments on the following scenarios in your campaign. So it is going to be very important to try to bring them down as quickly as possible, as they're really going to do a lot of damage to you. These things are unrelenting. They're going to hunt you down. Each one is going to have different effects. One of the big things with this guy here is that he is going to cause you to be envenomed. He's going to give you envenomed cards that are going to have all kinds of different nasty effects on them. He's also going to add devour tokens to the world shard cards a lot, which are going to be very negative for your player. And then obviously he's just hunting you down and trying to do damage to you as well, attacking you in that. So very, very nasty. Beautiful models though, as you saw in the beginning of the video. They're just super detailed models. Love the style that Dimension Games has with this. So moving over to the game board itself, there looks like there's a lot going on here, but it's actually pretty simple. So starting over on the one end here where we have all the different types of cards and that, on the very far end is going to be the round tracker, and each game is going to be played over 10 rounds, and there will be a round marker, but I'm just using this as a placeholder. So our first round we would start at 10, and each one of these is going to have a story element in the book that is going to resolve some sort of a crisis or enemy spawn or a number of other effects. Then going down the essential place here, we have the mental capacity, and this is going to be the initiative and when different models are going to activate throughout the turn. Now, when a model activates, they're going to spend a number of mental capacity to do different things, and then they're going to move down the chart. And in this way, the enemies and heroes or wanderers are going to activate a number of times throughout the round based on the mental capacity chart. Then we have the domain cards, and these are going to be beneficial to the players. They're going to get a number of these each round, and these are going to give them abilities to gain additional domains and other effects or actions that they can perform during the round or during their turns. Then we have the malformation cards, and there are 3 levels. We have level 1, 2, and 3, and each one of these is going to have 3 cards in it. Each of these cards is going to outline what that malformation is going to do during its turn. As you can see, they're also going to have story elements on them. Each malformation will have a number of hit points, as well as mental capacity, and then other effects that are going to be on it. From there, then we'll have the Abominations confrontation cards, and these are going to outline when we confront the malformation and our ability to attack it, and other effects that are going to be triggered due to that effect. Finally, we have Devour cards, which we will have to pull based on if we're in spaces that have Devour markers at the end of the round. And these are going to have all kinds of nasty effects. Some of them are really detrimental, so you want to kind of stay away from them if you can. Then moving into the main part of the board, this is going to be broken down into a number of different sections, as you can see with the numbers on the board. And then each of these is going to have a world shard card that is going to be associated with it. And basically we've been thrust into this other world that is broken into scattered different areas and locations that these cards are going to represent. Each of these cards will have a number of different domains on that, which will correspond to different actions and things we can perform. And each of these cards will have some sort of a ability or action that the player can do, or effects at the end of the rounds that the player will benefit or be negative to the player as well. Some of the cards will also have story elements that'll be specifically tied to the wanderer that you're playing, and they're also going to have portal cards underneath them that will allow you to, if you complete those, potentially move into different areas on your specific wanderer's board, which we have Emily's board out right now, or Emily's realm, and there's going to be different locations on that you can move to once you complete these. Then you can go into the portal, which will teleport you to that location. So this one is number 5, so that would bring us over to location 5, and then we can spend mental capacity to move around there and potentially solve different things on there. So there's a number of different things that are going to be happening on the board. Each of the locations is going to be connected by arrows, so as you move around from location to location, you'll have to follow those different arrows to move to those locations. So if there's no arrows connecting a location to another, then you cannot move there. And then finally, depending upon the number of wanderers that you're playing, you're also going to have potentially locations that are not going to be used for this game. As this game is set up for just one wanderer, we would not use locations 13 through 16. And the last element I want to touch on are the storybooks themselves. So each wanderer is going to have their own storybook that is going to basically tell their narrative. So with these, I'm not going to reveal much of this, and this is only a sampling of one of the wanderer's stories, as there's a ton of content that is missing out of this that they just did not have time to put into the book. So just keep that in mind, that this is just a small sampling, and I'm only going to show you one page of that just to give you an idea of how it works. So within each book, you're going to have the entries in there, and these are going to range all throughout all the different cards and effects, the malformations and different scenarios and effects, worlds, portals, and everything else. And when you have to reference one of these, it's going to give you a narrative to tell you what's going on. And a lot of these are very disturbing and horrifying and all kinds of different effects, so you can really get into it. It's a very cool experience. Then a lot of them are also going to have images or pictures to help you imagine different effects, and then they're going to have a number of different tests or things that you're going to have to do. And then if you're successful with these, you'll gain different rewards. And then it's also, a lot of them are going to lead you to different entries in the book that you're going to have to follow and perform different tests potentially, or different effects. And then, like I said, you'll gain rewards if you're successful, or other effects if you're not successful, as in, for example, here you'll pick up a different type of card and unlock different things and whatnot, and different effects that are going to go along with it. And like I said, each Wanderer is going to have their own books. So for example, here we have another image of a Wanderer's book, and then on the next page we have the other two that are included as well. So each one is going to have their own narrative that is going to outline what's happened in their life and what's going on in this other world. Well, I hope you guys found this video helpful in deciding whether or not you want to back this title. I would definitely recommend it, especially to players that like fully cooperative games, story-driven narrative games, or horror games. If you have any questions or comments, leave those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them, or swing by the Kickstarter's main page and drop any questions you have there as well. I'm sure the creators would be more than happy to answer any questions you have and would love to hear from you. As always, if you find these videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel, as it really does make a big difference. It does help me to continue to grow and produce these videos. If you want to stay updated on all my videos, also consider ringing the bell so you get notifications anytime I release new content. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.